Also, it's interesting. Forgot to mention that the head of the show is that recreational marijuana might be made illegal in the state of New York, which I always figured New York would follow suit probably sooner than later, just because of the tax revenue that's tied to it. And it's like an estimated in the first year like $3 billion worth of revenue that can go to repairing things like the MTA and public housing and schools. Like, for example, in Colorado, they made a universal pre-K completely free and paid for. And they've had so much excess revenue from marijuana sales, the taxing of marijuana, that they wound up having to give a refund check to the residents of Colorado, which is pretty cool. And negative consequences to it, like that people were purporting before it becoming legal, like violent crimes going up, is not the case because they've gone down. DUI related accidents going up have gone down as well. Underage children using marijuana have also gone down. Revenues from the state funding have also gone to funding rehab centers and stuff like that for people that want to rehab, like other, not just like marijuana, but like other drugs and stuff like that, and get off of them. They've gone for funding, has gone towards that. So it's like a no-brainer in terms of tax revenue for a state to do. And then when you factor in the medicinal qualities of it and all the anecdotal evidence from intraocular eye pressure relief for people with cataracts, appetite suppression being reversed for people like cancer patients that are on chemo that have no appetite but very, very direly need the nutrients from food but can't keep anything down because they're not hungry enough and don't want to eat. And marijuana helps with that, with increasing the appetite for it. One of the most notable for me is the seizure relief, especially in children, that CBD for marijuana, it drastically helps alleviate in kids and adults as well, but it's safe enough for children. What people have seen, they're small kids having hundreds of seizures a day to having a handful of seizures a month from putting droplets of CBD oil under their tongues. And then for me, the kicker is like the LD50 rate of marijuana, which is the lethal dose at 50%, meaning that 50% of the people that take this dose would be lethal for them. And it's like a metric that all drugs and food have an LD50 rate. Like, for example, the LD50 rate of salt, for example, is like 3,000 milligrams. So if you eat 3,000 milligrams worth of salt, which is a shitload, but like, for example, there's like 6 grams in a teaspoon. But if you have a certain amount of salt, you die, right? So everything has a LD50 rate. The LD50 of marijuana is consuming 1,500 pounds of it within 15 minutes, which is humanly impossible, which means it's literally humanly impossible for someone to die off of overdosing on marijuana. So that's like the kicker to me. There's like so much positive affiliated with it, and without even getting into like the agricultural aspect of like hemp, that's like a whole discussion in and of itself. But so much medicinal positives to it, and far outweigh any of the negatives. It's just been like stigmatized for so long that I think it's ultimately going to be a positive thing for New York, and it's definitely a testament to local politics, because Governor Cuomo, which stated that he's going to have a recreational marijuana proponent in his budget for Q1 of 2019, and he's putting it forward because he's going to have a Democratic controlled Senate, which should pass it, and before he didn't. But he was against recreational marijuana, and I think even against, well, actually not against medical, because medical is legal, but he was against the recreational marijuana until the race that he had with Cynthia Nixon, which she was a staunch proponent of recreational marijuana. And what local politics does in that sense, or any politics really, but you see more at the local level, I think, more clearly, is that a campaign like that, a primary campaign like that, helps shift. Even if someone like Cynthia Nixon, people say, she didn't have a shot in hell, it helps gauge public sentiment and public opinion about certain things. And then the candidate, the incumbent in this case, Governor Cuomo, sees that impact and that influence that her campaign had, and it helps shift his politics and his policies one way or the other. And she was such a staunch proponent, and it was like one of the most popular things on our platform was recreational marijuana, and that obviously had a direct impact on him, reversing his opinion on it, and now stating that in Q1 2019 it's going to be part of the budget proposal for New York State, with an estimate of, again, $3 billion would it be dollars coming back to the state from its revenue.